Hi, I'm Ron James, and I'm here this afternoon with Carrie Triffitt. Now, Carrie is the author of the new book, Long Time No See, Diaries of an Unlikely Messenger. This is a book about personal journey, spiritual revelation, spiritual reunion, and it's a book in these times everyone should read. Carrie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
The title, Long Time No See, is something that, just looking at it, it instantly strikes a chord with people. A lot of people are walking around, they feel disconnected with themselves, disconnected with the world around them, spiritually disconnected. And so you've hit on a title that really is going to make a lot of people pick up the book.
Well, it is a spiritual memoir that goes from pretty much birth until about 10 minutes ago. And it covers my life thus far and all of the very unlikely twists and turns that it's taken.
Now, one of the pivotal moments in the book is when Spirit speaks to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you?
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, the very first thing that Spirit said to me, and it took me a long time before I started calling it Spirit, it was just that voice in my head, and no, I'm not crazy, was when I was 27, and it was the first time that my best friend showed me what was inside his Buddhist altar. And when he opened up those doors, I heard this voice speak out loud inside my head, and it said, "Long time no see." And what can you say to something like that? It was, I had never been less spiritual in my life than I was during that period. So I don't know what I thought. I don't know what I thought, but how intriguing. What do you mean, long time no see? So from that point on, it actually led me into Buddhist practice because I figured I really ought to check this thing out. And that I practiced very devoutly as a Buddhist for 20 years and loved my Buddhist practice. And it never occurred to me that I would ever leave it behind. But from that first introduction, that voice continued to speak to me and continued to lead me ever so gently through my progression. And there came a time in 2005 when I had an amazing, powerful awakening. And after that awakening, nothing was the same. And I started to realize that following in anyone else's footsteps, no matter how brilliant a Buddha they may have been, was no longer appropriate for me, that I was being asked to leave religion behind and forge a new path on my own.
Now, the title, Long Time No See, it immediately conjures up a sense of reunion, a spiritual reunion, a reunion with yourself. And from listening to you tell the story, just the basics of the story, it kind of sounds like it was not just a single spiritual reunion, but a series of them that evolved.
Oh, and still ongoing. Just incredible series of visions and revelations and out-of-body experiences and actually long discussions with Spirit, because as I became more familiar with how this stuff works and more comfortable with the process, I started to be able to kind of widen my own communication channel, really. And to be able to ask questions and then listen for an answer. And sometimes it starts the other way around, where I would just be sort of thinking about something to myself and Spirit will butt in with a little comment from the peanut gallery, and then that starts a discussion. But the last third of this book, the Beyond Religion part, it very gently, after Buddhism, it led me to ultimately to practice A Course in Miracles. And I don't care if anyone else practices it. It's part of my job to deliver messages based on the principles that are taught in the Course. And that's what a lot of these long conversations with Spirit tend to be about. Because those principles are tough when you're studying the Course on your own. I think it can be very puzzling. But they're illuminated in this book in a way that I don't think has ever been done before. Because I wasn't even aware that that's what I was doing as I was living it. But, you just have a difficult experience in your daily life, and a client is pissing you off, pissing me off, and I'm walking around the house like, swearing at things or, kicking the door. And that is what prompts a conversation with Spirit in absolutely normal, everyday kind of language, the way you and I are talking now. about the principles that clarify how to become happier and free yourself from, all this stuff, this internal stuff, that we constantly have. So that's where I think the book is just hugely valuable. These gentle, normal conversations where you don't have to be particularly smart, and you don't have to be a scholar, and you don't have to be familiar with the course either, really. I mean, the principles are universal that we discuss. Love and oneness, and, it's all good.
Now, this dialogue, tell us a little bit about how that is for you. Do you get into a meditative space, or do you sit quietly and the dialogue happens on an inner basis, or are you actually having a conversation, or you're hearing voices, or is it an inner voice? Tell us a little bit about what the communication with spirit is for you personally.
Well, the interesting thing is that is still evolving. When I first heard Spirit speak, when it said "long time no see," it said it like out loud, but on the inside. So, and that's hard to describe if you've never experienced it. It was loud. I mean, I knew that no one said it. I didn't turn around and go, "Who's speaking?" There was no vibration. I didn't hear it with my physical ears, but I definitely heard it. And when it has very key things to say to me, like, "When you're ready, you'll write books," things that it wants me to absolutely know that I didn't make it up, I wasn't daydreaming it, it wants me to know. It will say things out loud very strongly that way. But much of it is unspoken, it's wordless, it's communication without words. So there's a lot of that.
So that's like an inner knowing, or a sense of something that a lot of times you can conceive and perceive and understand a concept that would take a long time to explain with words, but it just comes to you as a feeling.
All at once, yeah, and often in association with the words. So usually there's only a few out loud words at a time, but it's completely surrounded by these concepts that are unspoken but understood. And they always are in context that I will understand from my own life. So I'll be shown a picture of something I recognize, and I'll understand that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So, and then some of it is just, I'll be minding my own business, and a thought or a prayer or something will be placed in my mind, and I can feel that it didn't come from my conscious mind. It was just like put in there. So it's a whole different series, and I'm learning to sort of flow with it, because at first it was like, what is this? Well, it's not words, does it count when it's pictures? Well, yes, of course it counts. It all counts. What if it's a smell? That's happened. What if it's a pop tune? That's happened. But, they all serve the same purpose. Communication is a funny thing, and when you're not that good at it, I mean, I started out being not that good at it like anybody else, and
Sure.
If you truly desire to open up that line of communication, I think the bottom line is Spirit always wants to have a conversation with everybody. There isn't a person alive that Spirit would not be delighted to be able to have that sense of communion with. So if you want to have that sense of communion back, it in my experience, doesn't take that much work. It just takes the desire to hear. And then bit by bit, you get better at it, and you too can have these conversations.